Oh, hey y'all. Long time no see. I know it's been a couple of weeks, hasn't it? Well, I'm back.
You're a liar, a cheater, a sinner, and a homosexual.
Happy New Year. It's your girl Haven. And I kind of wanted to do something a little different this time. I know I usually do like reactions and stuff like that, but I think this time I just want to do like a little story time, where I've been, what's been going on, all those things. And yeah, it's been a very busy, to say the least, couple to several weeks. And so, outside of the holidays and stuff, like obviously there was Christmas and then there's New Year's and all those things, but also like I was sick for a little bit, and so I did not have the energy nor the capacity to do any type of content creation or anything. And so I was like, well, that's okay. Hopefully the small community I have so far will understand. And also, I became a cat mom for like 9 days. Okay. Listen, there's a long story behind that. Okay, so let me just kind of break it down in order. So over the past up until the point that I adopted my kitten, because I did adopt a kitten, but up until the point I adopted my kitten, I had been thinking of getting a cat for the past 9 months. And, when you kind of have people that are around you all the time that have pets and kind of tell you the benefits of having pets and everything, you're kind of like, hey, I can do that too, right? And I'm also someone that never grew up with pets at all, just because like growing up where I grew up and like growing up with my parents, they weren't really animal people like that. So any type of like, can I have a pet or anything like that, they weren't really into it. And so never had that experience until I moved and started living on my own. And so pretty much all the roommates I've had up until like 2 years ago, before I started living on my own, they all had cats. And so I had experience being around them, cohabitating with them, taking care of them, like when my roommates would be gone and stuff. Like the longest term roommate I had for like 5.5 years had a cat, and they worked like 3 or 4 jobs. They also traveled a lot sometimes. And so usually it's like, well, I wasn't traveling, so I would always be home, usually just because I just had my one job that I still have now. And so I would always be around, just like feeding him, giving him time, that kind of thing. He was an adult cat, so, didn't really require too much. And I kind of got to the point to where I was just kind of like, you know what? I can do this by myself. And so since I've been living by myself for like the past 1.5 to 2 years or so, and, me being a single 30-year-old woman, I was like, well, let me get me like a little companion or something to live with me. It's like I have a lot of love to give, and I wanted to give my love to something. And so about 2 weeks ago, let's see, it is January 3rd, as of recording this video, I went to the Humane Society here in Oregon, and I went with one of my friends who's a former coworker of mine, and we went on the 19th. And I was like, okay, well, this will be the perfect time to do it. I was going to have a significant amount of time off because of the holidays. So I'm like, this will give me enough time to like bond with the cat, get to the point of like getting used to cohabitating in the same space and everything. And so, we're walking through and everything, and it's not really hitting me that my life is about to change for the time being. And so, we're just walking through, of course there wasn't like that many cats left, just because like it was the holiday season. And so there weren't really any I was really like bonding with. Like I wasn't looking for adult cats, to be fair, because, I had the fantasy of like, I want a kitten, and I did. Well, okay. There was one kitten, like the Siamese kitten that was about 3 months old, 3 or 4 months old. I think he was just 4 months old. And he and I kind of had a moment. His name was Akatosh, like from the Elder Scrolls. And I like booped his little nose because he was sticking his paw through like through the gate, through the cage, whatever you want to call it, gate cage, whatever. And I, touched his paw, but then I like stuck my finger through because he was also like putting his head up to the bars, and I just kind of like booped his little nose, and he was just so cute. But the thing was, he wasn't ready to be adopted yet because he hadn't had his surgery to be, fixed yet. And so he wasn't up for adoption, and they were like, well, he'll be ready tomorrow. So like the day after, which would have been December 20th. And I was kind of in the frame of like, well, no, I came here with the intention of taking home a cat today. And so I was just kind of like, ugh, but I could come tomorrow if I don't find anything that like really sticks out to me. But I ended up deciding against it, not because of the whole like not wanting to come back the next day, because if it just turned out that there wasn't any other cat I was interested in, I would have came back the next day. But it was just the fact that Akatosh was already bonded with another kitten, which was his twin sister from the same litter. And so it was just, for me, I could not break up the two kittens. I just, in good conscience, I couldn't. I was just like, no, they deserve to be going to the same home. They deserve to still have their lives together. And so I didn't. So as we were still walking through the building, I was looking at the website as well, because not all of the cats that they had on the website were the ones that were on display, because they just had so many cats. And so there was this one that kind of stuck out to me. It wasn't because of him looking different or because of his profile or anything, because there wasn't really that much information on him, but it was just more of just like my intuition just being like, girl, get this cat. And he was just a brown tabby. He had just turned 4 months old a few days before that. His birthday was August 17th. So yeah, he had just turned 4 months old at that point. And so I was like, okay, let me choose this one. His name was Tiger. I was like, let's choose this one and let's just kind of like see how I bond with him. Let's just kind of see what his personality's like. And so I got his information, brought it up to the front desk, and then they were like, okay, well, cool, we'll call for you. I had to wait about 20 to 25 minutes. And then once that time was up, they called my name. They put me and my friend in a room, and the person that worked at the Humane Society, they came, they brought him in, and literally as soon as they put him down, he was just like the chillest cat. Like he was so chill, just so sweet, like literally gave each of us time to just like be with him and everything. And, just for a kitten, like just for being so young. He was also bigger than your typical 4-month-old kitten. And so the person I talked to, they were like, yeah, like we're projecting him to be at about at least 14 to 15 pounds, which I was like, ooh, he's going to be a big boy. And keep in mind, he's just a domestic short hair, just like a brown tabby. And yeah, just like super cute. This is him. Yeah, super, super cute. And I'm going to be honest. Initially, there wasn't any like excitement. Like I wasn't like, oh my God, oh my God. Like I wasn't doing any of that, but I was just like, oh my God, like he's really like a chill cat. And like, he's so cute. And just like, he would let you pick him up. He wasn't like, I don't want that. Or like, he wasn't super energetic or anything. Like I say, he was just chill. And so I was just like, okay, this might be something I could handle, just being, that I'm gone for 8 to 10 hours a day. Usually I work for 8 hours, but then I usually have like the time I spend in the gym for 2 hours. So I was like, yeah, I think he's the one. Like we just kind of warmed up to each other pretty quickly. And so they were like, okay, well, cool. We'll have you come sign the paperwork and everything. I went to sign the paperwork, but even again, like in that process, there wasn't any like, oh, my life's about to change, or like any large amount of like excitement or anything. It was kind of like maybe indifference. I don't know. I still haven't really like figured out what that emotion was yet. I don't know. I think usually I don't know. I'm just the type of person where it's like, I'm not like super, super emotional or anything like that. So maybe that's just what it was. But it was just kind of like, okay, like cool. Like this is going to be cute. Like I'm going to treat him well. And like, keep in mind, over that 9-month period I was talking about, I had already done like a lot of research, like just watching videos, reading books. I even like got this giant book from Barnes and Noble that I was just like thumbing through, reading through, taking notes, highlighting, all those types of things. And I was also just acquiring things. Like I was acquiring food, I was acquiring, cat litter and like a little fountain, because I learned that cats apparently love streams of water as opposed to just like a bowl of water. Like they want filtered water. They want water that's kind of like moving and things like that. And so acquired all that stuff. Already had it all set up in my apartment, like I said, ready to bring a cat home, right? And so, yeah, they brought him over to me after I had signed all the paperwork and everything. I was on my way home, and from the Humane Society to my house, it was about 20-ish minutes, give or take, without traffic. I had him in the cat carrier that they give you. And, I just had him sitting on my lap as we were just like on the way to my place. And, I didn't feel him moving around in there or anything. And I was just like, okay, what's going on? And so I kind of like peeked my eye through one of the little holes in there, and he was just chilling. Like he's just a chill guy. And, just was in like a little loaf and everything. So I was like, wow, I was like, he's really comfortable, like just really, really chill. Fast forward, bring him home. I have him posted up in my bathroom. I let him out, and he's just like walking around and stuff. Again, not even like skittish, not scared or anything like that. He did eventually just kind of like walk away from us, and then just kind of like hid underneath my bathroom cabinet, because it's like a raised cabinet. He just kind of hid under there. But he would still kind of like come out, especially because I had like a few toys and stuff out, and just gave him a few hours to just kind of like sit there with him and everything before I just kind of like left him alone to like get acclimated to just being in that small space. And then I didn't really sleep that night because I was just like, okay, like, what if he starts meowing or like he's crying or like that kind of thing. And so I was like, okay, well, that's fine. Like if I'm just up, I'm just up. I already have insomnia usually, so I'm already up for like hours on end and everything. And so that was fine. And then the next day comes, and, I go in to check on him, scoop his litter box, that kind of thing. And, I'm closing the door of my bathroom behind me and just kind of sitting with him, spending more time. I have my iPad in there. I'm just like watching videos, that kind of thing. And then so he walks out. And then, he kind of like rubs his head up against me, marking his territory, showing affection, that kind of thing. And then he walks towards my bathroom door and starts pawing at it. And so I'm just like, oh, he's ready already? Okay, cute. So I kind of open the door a little bit. He pokes his head through, kind of looks around, and then he walks out. And so I'm following him as he's just canvassing the scene, just kind of looking at the space, kind of seeing how much room there is in there. And yeah, he was already getting super used to the space, not even a full 24 hours after he had been in my place. And so yeah, just kind of fast forwarding through all of that time, it was fine. Like, again, really chill cat. He didn't meow really for he didn't meow at all for like the first 4 days. And I was just kind of like, is that normal? And then so I was kind of scared and not necessarily like panicking, because I'm not really like a panicky person or anything, but I was just like looking online, and apparently that's more normal than I thought, that like kittens don't really meow or anything. It's like a socialization thing apparently. But as he got more comfortable, I did hear him meow for the first time, and it wasn't like a loud meow. It was just kind of more of like a like that, just like a little small little sound. And I just thought it was so cute. And yeah, but anyway, I've been using like past tense because I'm going to be honest, I don't have him anymore. And I'm going to tell you why. Don't worry. I'm going to tell you why. Okay, so the real reason I don't have him anymore is because I realized that pet parenting wasn't for me. And I know what you're probably thinking. You're probably like, girl, how did you not know this before you adopted him? Like, that doesn't seem to make that much sense. Well, I think it's one of those things where it's like, you don't really know until you're doing it, because like I mentioned before, I've lived with people that had cats. However, I wasn't directly responsible for them. I don't consider like making sure their food is out directly responsible for them or anything. But yeah, it's just kind of like the amount of energy I had to expend and everything like that. And like just the amount, like as he got more comfortable, he was more needy and stuff, which is fine. But I just think with like the way my life is, I don't think I could have given him the life that he deserved, the time that he deserved, especially with him being so young. Obviously, and I feel like most cat owners say this, or just like pet people in general will say this, that kittens, they should be with other kittens or with like an older cat, or they should be with kids or like a person or a family that can just give them all the time in the world that they need. And that just wasn't me. Because again, I'm going to work for 8 hours. I don't work from home. And then, you know, I have my time where it's like my extracurriculars, also work as a DJ at night and all those things. So ultimately, it was just, I felt like if I would have kept on long term, I would have been neglecting him. And there wasn't really any way that I could fit my schedule to fit his needs. And that's not fair to him, you know, because it's like, obviously, it's like I need my livelihood. I need to be able to make money because I was obviously going to be supporting both of us. And I can't do that if I'm like taking time off work all the time, or if I'm, you know, neglecting my second job, which is DJing and like that kind of thing. And also, like, I don't think I was like in the right mental space to take care of a pet. And I don't mean that from like a like depression or like that kind of thing, but I think I just meant like it takes a very mentally tough person to take care of another sentient life. And like, I don't have kids, obviously. Again, never had a pet or anything, never was directly responsible for one. Like, I did help raise my nephew, like that's one thing. But again, not directly responsible for him because obviously, like, he's my sister's kid. He's an adult now. He's like 19. But the point is, it just takes a lot to be able to do that. And I feel like if I was going to be raising a kitten, it probably would have been better to have someone else step in as well, or like maybe have like a partner or a spouse or like a roommate or something like that to help take care of them, you know? So maybe I just shouldn't have adopted a kitten. Maybe I should have adopted like a larger cat or something like that. But honestly, I just don't think, again, like pet parenting was for me, because it's like I do like animals. I just don't think I like cohabitating with them. And again, this is something I should have realized before I adopted, because again, I lived with cats for most of my tenure here since moving from Georgia. And yeah, but I think what happened was I just kind of got lost in the fantasy of like, oh, like it'll be nice to have something to take care of. But then there's also like peer pressure. And then it's just like a lot of my coworkers or like my friends are like, girl, you should get you a cat. Like, you know, like you're single and like you're fine with it, but like you should have you like a little pet or something like that just to come home to or whatever. And I'm like, you know what? I probably should. And honestly, peer pressure is probably a dumb reason to even get a pet in the first place. Even though the 9 days I had him, I took very, very good care of him. Like, listen, we weren't doing no cheap stuff over here. Like, I was buying him Tiki Cat. I was giving him toppers. Again, had him like a little filter or water fountain. And, you know, I was scooping his litter box every day. And I was, you know, making sure he was being groomed and like those kinds of things. But yeah, so I ended up making the decision to rehome him. And by rehoming him, I didn't just like drop him off somewhere, obviously, because that's terrible. That's atrocious. But I ended up taking him back to the Humane Society. And the morning of, you know, it was just fine. Like, I didn't have any type of emotion about it or anything. I was just kind of like, okay, like this is going to be better off for the both of us, because, you know, he'll get readopted easily just because of like his demeanor and everything. He would get adopted, you know, hopefully by a family, but if not by a family, just a singular person that can give him the time that he needs. And yeah, so I had no doubt about that. There wasn't any regret in my decision or anything at all. Like, it definitely worked out for the better. Also, like, while I had him, I wasn't really like eating. I wasn't really like doing anything. I was just kind of like, okay, like all my focus is just making sure he's fine, being worried, that kind of thing. You know, first time mom jitters, I guess. But yeah, so that was also another thing. It was just like, it was kind of becoming a little bit detrimental to my health, even though it was a little over a week. And so that also wasn't good. I ended up taking him back on the 28th. And so on the ride up to the Humane Society, like I said, there was no emotion or anything. I was just kind of like, okay, it's cool. I had took him to the vet as well. And like the people at the vet that saw him, they were just like, oh my God, he's so chill just for like such a young cat and everything. And I was like, yeah, I know. He obviously passed with flying colors. He was fine. There was nothing wrong with him or anything. And then so I ended up taking him, and literally as soon as I pulled up to the Humane Society, it just hit me. Like I felt like some guilt kind of settling in. And this day, it's a few days after Christmas. And so you had people there to adopt cats. And they were also running a special at the Humane Society where it was like half off the adoption fee for adult cats. And so that just brought out like droves of people. And so I walk in. Also, I did not say this, but I also renamed Tiger Lucci, like Rob Lucci from One Piece. Yeah, I named him Lucci. I thought it was a cute name for a cat just because I was initially going to name him Nico after Nico Robin. I'm a big One Piece fan in case you haven't realized by now. But yeah, I was going to name him Nico after Nico Robin, but also was like, Nico would be a good name for a kitten, but also like I feel like it would be a very common pet name, and I wanted something that was a little bit different because your girl likes to stand out, dare to be different, all that jazz. And so that's why I settled on Lucci. And yeah, so I walked in. I was kind of like becoming overwhelmed with emotion a little bit, and the person that saw me, he walked up, he was like, what's going on? What can we help you with? He was like, I see you have a kitten here. And I was like, yeah, like I have to give him up. Unfortunately, I didn't give him the reasonings why, but I was just like, yeah, I have to give him up for adoption. And then it turns out I was in the wrong section because that was only my second time there. So he told me where I should go. I ended up going to the right place. It was just like this random door that was just there on the other side of the building. Very small, very easy to miss. And then so I knocked on the door, they opened it, I walked in. And then when the front desk person asked me while I was there, that's when it really hit me. Like I was crying, I was boohoo crying. And, I hate to be that girl, but I'm not really a crier. Like I said earlier, I don't really show like a lot of emotion. My friends will tell you, like, listen, I know I have friends of mine watching this video right now. They'll tell you they've never seen me cry. And it's not that I'm afraid to like cry. You know what? Never mind. Anyway, the guy asked me, he was like, okay, so what brings you in? And so I'm just overwhelmed. I like start crying, can't put together a coherent sentence whatsoever. And I'm like, once I was able to kind of get myself together a little bit, because I did cry for like a little bit, I was like, I have to give him up for adoption. And, he asked me why and everything. And I just kind of told him like long term, I don't think it was going to work. I also was running into some health issues and stuff that maybe I'll talk about in a different video or something. That's like long term, nothing like life threatening or anything, but like stuff that could prevent me from having to take care of him long term. Also, I was developing an allergy, it seemed like, which again, something I should have noticed from having lived with other cats before. Like every time I would be around a cat, tight throat, scratchy throat, eyes watering, itching, all these things, stuff that I just chalked up before to just like respiratory issues, because I do have like respiratory issues and stuff like that. And, I do have like allergies to like other things and whatnot too. So I was just like, it could have been any number of those things, but it was definitely because of like having him around and stuff too. So that was another reason. But anyway, long story short, I ended up giving him up, and all I could do was just cry and just like, and during all this time, he's again, super chill, just in the cat carrier, just chill, just doing his own thing. And I'm just sitting here, I have my hand through his cat carrier that I bought for him, and I'm just like scratching his head, and all I'm doing is just apologizing. I'm just like, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Just like feeling so much guilt for giving him up and everything. And you know what? Maybe some people watching this video might be like, you know what, girl, you should feel guilty. You should feel guilty for giving him up. But to that I say, hey, it's better to give him a better life than a life that I would have been able to provide for him. And that's just me being truthful. So I don't feel any regret for my decision. I felt a little bit of guilt, but I was fine within like a day or two. He also got adopted like not even a full day after I had gave him up for adoption. So I'm already like very much positive that he's in a much better like home than what he already had with me. And, you know, I can only be happy for him. Like, obviously there's parts of me that's just kind of like, well, I hope he's doing okay. And I hope they're treating him right. But I know he is. Like, it's just, you know, I live in a city where it's like pet people through and through. Like, people here love animals like to a fault. Like, that might be like their biggest personality trait is like how much they love animals. But ultimately, I did have fun for the 9 days that I was a pet mom. It just wasn't for me. It wasn't going to be for me long term. And I think that's okay. I wanted my peace. I wanted my space. And it just is what it is. And, you know, it's better that I figured that out than waiting a few to several months and then just being like, ugh, like I don't really want to do this anymore. Cause like, I feel like that's terrible. You know, it's just kind of like giving him up to be readopted before either of us got like too attached. And I do think my overwhelm of emotion just came from maybe being a little bit more attached than I thought. But also it made me think about like the epidemic of, and I know it's not the same because like obviously a pet and a human child is different, but it made me think about like maybe how parents must feel when they have to give up their child for adoption because maybe they can't take care of them long term, or maybe the circumstances weren't right, or whatever the case may be. It made me kind of think about that, and like just knowing people personally that have been through that type of situation before that got put up for adoption, just kind of like hearing their stories and stuff, that also made me emotional just to think about. And so, yeah, I think it was just a combination of different things that kind of like put me through the ringer a little bit emotionally for like the first day or two. But yeah, here we are, January 3rd now. It's been pretty much a week now at this point. And yeah, like I am happy for the time that I did that. I learned a lot within that little bit of time. It was a great process, but yeah, I'm not going to say never, but I think for the foreseeable future, I'm good. I'm good on being a pet parent. I'm fine with just being the girl that like goes to people's places and then they have like their cats or whatever and just kind of like spending time with them that way, you know. But yeah, y'all, that was it. I just wanted to just do like this little story time, just kind of like let you know what's been going on, where I've been, what's been occupying my time for like the last little bit of time and everything. But yeah, other than that, I hope y'all have had a great new year. I hope your year is starting off strong. I know I'm planning for mine too. And yeah, just if you have goals, like just keep putting in the work, you know, they'll pay off eventually. I'm saying this to y'all to tell myself as well, because I know last year I did a lot of starts and stops, not even necessarily with like YouTube specifically, but just in general. And, you know, that could be attributed to maybe social media or just like whatever the case may be. But yeah, I think this year's the year of consistency. So I'm going to beholding myself to that. So yeah, but if y'all like story times, let me know. I like to yap. Secretly, I'm a yapper. Like I'm kind of in the middle of the spectrum of where I'm like, you know, introverted but extroverted. Just kind of depends on the situation, or what I like to call selectively social. So yeah, if y'all like hearing me yap and y'all want me to yap about things, let me know what you want me to talk about in the comments below. I'd be more than happy to like put together something, talk. And yeah, but other than that, make sure you follow me on my social media. I have all my links below. And if you like this video, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Also hit the notification bell to be notified of any future videos that I put out. And other than that, y'all, thank y'all for joining me for this story time. And I will be seeing y'all in the next video. Bye, y'all.